Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. It's a pleasure speaking to such esteemed guests today evening. So the theme is about Resurgent India, 2047, and about PSUs, right? It was interesting when I looked at how PSUs have kind of come over the period of time. The first PSU was way back in 1948, when ITI was there. That was the first PSU. My understanding, there was always a debate whether it was Hindustan Aircraft or whether it was ITI, but officially it is supposed to be ITI. Then we had the first PSU which was listed in NASDAQ, which was VSNL. So PSUs have come a long way from those years. And if you look at Narendra Modi's Prime Minister of India, his vision for 2047, it was to convert India to become a developed country. That's the vision. So let's look at how is it he envisaged this.
I dream of a digital India where 1.2 billion connected Indians drive innovation. I dream of a digital India where knowledge is strength and empowers the people. I dream of a digital India where access to information knows no barriers. I dream of a digital India where government is open and governance is transparent.
The most important aspect which caught my attention were two things. One was innovation, the second was governance. No better innovation than what you see on the board here about UPI. India did 46% of the digital payment transactions across the globe. $117 billion. As per RBI, it was almost 46%. Today you have UPI being used by 7 countries, which includes the likes of Singapore, Sri Lanka, accepted in France, which is a very, very big step forward as far as what innovation is done. UPI came back way back in 2016 when it was launched. And when it was launched, I think the first year was about 2,000 crores to what it is today, 282 lakh crores. And that's what innovation did as far as India is concerned. India is also the third largest country from a digitalized country perspective. It is behind US and China. So that speaks about the kind of innovation India has done over the last so many years. But what does digital bring to countries? And this is very important. When you look at the GDP growth and what it does, digital does to India, as per analysts, in fact, India is expected to become a developed country much faster than 2047. And India is expected to overtake USA as the largest economy by 2060. Now that's what digital does. The other part is job creation, what digital does. India added almost 20 million jobs last year. And that's a very important aspect of what digital does. E-governance, transparency brings into government is very important, and the Prime Minister did speak about it. Governance is very important in terms of what digital does to countries. It also extends public services across the whole aspect of India. India has got almost 46%, which is a rural population of internet users. And for them to use these services, the aspect of digital becomes very critical. The other aspect is also very important. When you look at digital, India has created almost 108 unicorns over the last so many years. And not to mention the number of startups that are spawned over the last so many years. And India is probably one of the largest startup country in the world, if you look at what it's done. PSUs, of course, have played a very, very strong aspect to what digital India today is. If you look at the success stories, there's a substantial amount of success stories, what India has done as far as innovation is concerned. UPI was just one among them. You've seen other. It's interesting that from reports which I've read, that there are quite a few countries who want to implement today what we've done as far as Aadhaar is concerned. That's a very big thing that what other is done, people want to implement it, right? You've seen DigiYatra being a very big success story. Of course, still a long way to go to get implemented across in all the airports in India, and to rectify some of the glitches that come up once in a while. But otherwise, I think it's a great success story for people who travel. DigiLocker, again, a substantially big success story in terms of what it does from a digitization perspective. So you've seen a lot of success stories which has happened as far as innovation by the PSUs within the India market is concerned. Now, if you look at some of the use cases, and I did speak about it, right? Self-service portals like Umang, electronic documentation management like what DigiLocker does, open data platforms, public safety and emergency, EMRI, HMRI, you have seen a lot of public safety platforms which have come up. Predictive analytics, this is an area which you will see AI as a platform becoming very big, and we'll speak about it a little later in terms of some of the challenges that could potentially throw up as far as digital platforms are concerned. Very clearly, you're seeing innovation in all of these areas, and this is the area which we did hear the earlier panel speak about, right? I'm not going to spend too much time on this, but we've seen the benefits of all the platforms which we've created as India, likes of Aadhaar, likes of DigiLocker, likes of DigiYatra. There are various platforms which we've created. Obviously, it enhances the experience of citizens. When innovation is done, I think from a government perspective, from PSU's perspective, the first priority obviously is the citizen of the country. We innovate to basically enable citizens in terms of how our services are delivered to them. Apart from, of course, reduces manual work, improves automation. These are very standard. This happens when you do any platform change, any automation. These are very standard things. But I think we keep in mind most of the time what it can do as far as citizens are concerned, right? From a future perspective, one of the challenges which digital platforms will face in terms of implementation is the legacy systems itself. A huge amount of customers across India still have legacy platforms. That will be a big challenge. You'll have to spend a lot on the infrastructure part, and we'll speak a little bit on the infrastructure later, but you'll spend a lot on the infrastructure part. You will also spend a lot on talent. That's another area which priority will become very, very important. And these are some of the areas which I mentioned are going to be in the future for priorities. When you talk about digital, you cannot leave away the infrastructure which is required to drive digital. So if you look at India, India added almost 420 megawatt of power in just this year. And we measure it by power because that's the power which is consumed by these platforms. To run all of these platforms which you're talking, you actually need power. And you're talking about almost 5,200 megawatt of power by 2029, and becoming almost a $17.8 billion market from a cloud services perspective. But every time you talk digital, there's going to be a challenge. I'm going to talk about one challenge because everybody knows about ChatGPT. And I'm going to talk about the challenge of what digital brings in when you talk about infrastructure, right? When ChatGPT built the learning module, they used about 285,000 cores, processor cores, 10,000 GPUs. That was equivalent to almost 800 petaflops of power. To run that, the power which was required was equivalent to 3 months of what New Zealand runs. That was the power which was required to run it. It was not just the power. What was interesting was every time you use ChatGPT and you run a query, anywhere between 5 to 50 queries, you consume 500 ml of water. So when they built the learning platform of ChatGPT, they consume 180,000 gallons of water. That's equivalent to the amount which is required to cool a nuclear reactor. Now that's the challenge infrastructure brings. When you run AI platforms, when you talk digital, apart from all of these which I mentioned, that's the challenge which it brings. And from our CtrlS perspective, our focus, apart from delivering a plethora of services, I'm not going to spend too much time on this, and we're outside, we could discuss that, is to address the sustainability part when we are talking about these infrastructures. Because sustainability is the core. When we're talking water, when we're talking power, sustainability becomes the core to our business. And all what we do is basis this. We have almost about 234 megawatt of power across the country. This is almost roughly about 35-40% of India's data center capacity, which is there. It'll go up to almost 600 megawatts. We are expanding this across various locations. These are the current locations where we have these data centers. These are the AI-ready data centers. And that's the reason I mentioned about the ChatGPT part, because you need that kind of power to run data centers. All of these are AI-ready. So what it means is that in a single rack, for example, you can have almost 52 kVA of power in just one rack. A normal rack is about 6 to 8 kVA, whereas we can run it almost at about 52. And the backend source, we can supply it almost up to 250 kVA for a single rack from a source perspective. We are also doing one aspect which is very important, is to develop the edge platforms. When you go more and more rural, you will need performance, you will need better throughputs, which you deliver across to your consumers. Creation of edge enables that. So you will have us data centers across almost 20 different locations. And this is the core to what I just mentioned, sustainability, right? By 2030, we'll be net carbon zero. We'll be 100% renewable energy as far as 2030 is concerned. PUE is very important from a data center perspective because that's what defines how well sustainable you are. And of course, we won various awards as far as a sustainable organization is concerned. It is not just the data center part from what we need to do or what we need to look at, right? We also deliver the platform of services which are required to build these digital platforms. And I'm not going to dwell too much into that part of it again. These are largely the kind of customers we serve. Government is a very big part of our business. Various government agencies, we deliver platforms across us, which include smart metering, which include smart cities, which include safe cities, various other customers who are there. And this is just a small list of it, right? But the key part is this, that when you look at building any digital infrastructures, please keep in mind that for digital, the core to build the digital platform is the infrastructure behind it. And that's the most important part. You have to have a reliable infrastructure, which gives you the kind of uptime, and also a data center which you are able to build it, which delivers sustainability. Thank you.